to be a global game changer. It's being experimented not only in India but globally. Everybody is talking about it. And India, fortunately, has taken a substantial lead and probably leading the path in the global change that CBG can bring in. So with me today, we have a very distinguished panel today. We have Professor Y.B. Ramakrishna. He is, of course, chairman of the IFG CBG Forum. He is former chairman of the working group on a biofuel, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, and has contributed immensely into the Indian biofuel policy. Then we have Mr. Subodh Kumar. He is former executive director, Indian Oil Corporation, and he is chairman of the IFG Biomass Global Associate Forum. So we have a stakeholder from a biomass aggregators along with Professor Ramakrishna, of course, who is an expert on the CBG. Then we have Mr. Vinay Maheshwari, who is president of Environment Management JBM Group. And we have a kind of, in form of Mr. Maheshwari, industry representative, who is setting up the greenfield projects on the CBG. So we have that perspective coming. And then we have Mr. Kevin Hoston, who is director of Carbon Masters. And he will bring in the foreign investors' perspective to the entire CBG discussion today. We have Mr. Tushar Patil, who is AVP of additional, Vice President of Praj Industry, who is the technology leader into the CBG, standpoint. And of course, we'll talk about India's technological capabilities in advancing CBG in India. And then we have Mr. Ashish Gupta, who is representing Gas Authority of India Limited. He is Chief General Manager Marketing there, and is handling the entire, representing in a way oil marketing companies who are ultimately ensuring the end usage of the CBG and the entire network of evacuation and ultimate usage of CBG. So we have a very distinguished panel. Welcome all the speakers, and thank you audience for being here. As we all know, we have to be rushed because of the schedules, tight schedules of the sessions. So I'll request all my panelists to be brief and put their perspective. And let's begin with Professor Ramakrishna on his perspective and how do he look at from the policy framework and the advancement that has happened in India's CBG sector, and how do India can lead the entire path. Mr. Ramakrishna.
Very good morning to all of you. As rightly pointed out, the CBG sector is a new sector and an emerging sector, and the kind of policy ecosystem that is expected is something that is evolving in the country. Having said that, let me say that India was the first country to produce the biogas from cow dung, and that was almost about 130 years ago. Since then, we have tried out different feedstocks for converting them into, the biogas. And in fact, since 1982 onwards, we had a very aggressive program, but they were focusing mainly on small biogas plant, and we built more than 4.5 million biogas plants in the country, mainly to address some of the cooking needs of the domestic needs, as well as looking at some of the industrial heat requirement. It was only in the year 2018 that we really looked at upgrading the biogas and using that as a fuel for running our transport in this country. That's how the program Satat came into picture. And in the last few years, we know that there have been several programs. We have the Govardhan scheme, which is a umbrella scheme of all the biogas programs in the country. And Satat is a program where we are really looking at commercializing the whole program and using the fuel for transport segment as well as for various other sectors. The sector has been essentially have about 4 or 5 different challenges. The first challenge is organizing the supply chain in the country. When we talk about supply chain, we have different kind of feedstock to an extent that, we can produce about 60 million metric tons of gas in this country if that is made available to the processing unit. And that is at least 15 million metric tons more than the total gaseous fuel that we have been consuming coming from the fossil sectors at this point of time. However, we have quite a few challenges in creating the right kind of supply chain. The second issue is when you produce so much of compressed biogas, offtake has been one of the major challenges. This is another area where other speakers will also be focusing on. And the third area is, when I said we have potential to produce 60 million metric tons, in phase 1 of the program we are looking at producing about 15 million metric tons of compressed biogas. And when we do that, we would be producing something like 90 million metric tons of fermented organic manure also. Unless you create a market for the fermented organic manure, the biogas program also cannot take off. So how do you create the kind of, the policy ecosystem in the country is again been a challenge. And then, of course, the low cost and impact financing the sector is another big challenge. And one other source of revenue, apart from the gas and the fermented organic manure, one has to really look at, how the carbon credits can be organized for this sector. So these are some of the major challenges. Indian Federation of Green Energy has been in existence for a while, but the Biogas Forum, Producers Forum, was only started about 15 months ago. And in 15 months, IFG has been able to identify all the challenges that the sector has been facing and looking at the kind of interventions that are required in this area. So in the last 15 months of work, several things that have happened. And I would like to just mention some of the achievements the IFG has been able to achieve in this particular sector. When it comes to, I talked about the supply chain part of it. So when it comes to supply chain, our interventions have been able to, come up with some kind of guidelines for the crop residue management, which is being announced by the Ministry of Agriculture. They are really looking at the paddy straw, which is being burnt in northern 5 states. So there is already a certain guidelines which are under implementation. As early as, in February this year, Ministry of Petroleum has come up with a subsidy scheme on, for the machinery for aggregating the agricultural residues. 564 crore has been set aside, and the motion is in, it's already set in motion. And by March, we are really looking at applications being received and funds being dispersed by the Ministry of Petroleum. And when it comes to the FOM, that is the fermented organic manure ecosystem, several things have been done by IFGE. First and the foremost, in the month of May, we looked at removing the authorization that was really required for marketing the FOM itself. Second, the fertilizer control order was amended, for several things like, one is, adding the micronutrient to enhance the value of this. And then we were also looking at the amendment that was required on the C&N ratio, on the moisture content, etc. So they are all, now there have been government orders, meeting some of the expectations of the ministry. And the other important aspect is also on supporting the organic, fertilizers. A policy has been announced, and there is a market development assistance of something like 1,500 rupees for every metric tons of fertilizer, fermented organic manure has been generated. So some of these things have, really helped the sector to grow. And a couple of other things that are in the pipeline, to ensure the offtake of the gas. There is a pipeline infrastructure that is being looked into from the biogas producers facility all the way up to the nearest CGD network. There is a concept note that has already been developed and discussed with the various stakeholders, and this is a work in progress, and anytime there's going to be a subsidy program that is going to be announced to implement the pipeline infrastructure that is really required. And on the green credits or on the CBG credits, there has been a lot of work that is being done. This is again a work in progress. We have the carbon credit scheme from the Ministry of Environment and Forest, but we are also looking at CBG credit from the Ministry of Petroleum. For every MMBTU of the gas that is going to be produced, there is going to be a certain credit which can be traded in the market. This is again a work in progress. So there have been several initiatives. All I would like to say at this point of time is the ecosystem has been evolving very fast in this country, and the kind of required environment for investing into this sector is already there. And the complaint from the government is that the schemes are not being utilized by the people who are trying to invest in this sector. Now I think it is time for us to really look at those kind of opportunities and see how we can start investing in this sector.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Ramakrishna. Thank you for giving the overall picture of the CBG, including the each aspects of whether it is producers, biomass, aggregation, FOM, pipeline infrastructure, CGD. So I'll take that forward with Mr. Subodh Kumar, Mr. Kumar has been someone who has been pioneer in starting the Satat program in the Ministry of Petroleum, which has been a major game changer for CBG and all kind of biofuel efforts. So, Mr. Kumar, how do you look at Satat progress and overall its impact on the CBG growth?
Thank you, Ankit, and thank you, Mr. Ramakrishna, for giving the overall view. So when we started working on Satat, that is sustainable alternative towards affordable transportation, there was a challenge of handling the agri-waste, and you might have heard about the northern part of the country, the parali burning problem. So this program was addressed to handle that problem. And subsequently, we realized that though the potential is there around 60 million ton, all these feedstocks which are waste in nature, either agri-waste or MSW or cattle dung or chicken litter and whatever you name it, most of them are seasonal in nature. So how to make that availability round the year? So the work is going on nowadays on the energy crop. So people are coming on, there is various varieties of napiers are being tried and other grasses are being tried. So that gives, so the 60 million ton potential was assessed on the basis of the existing biomass availability and coming with the new grasses and new areas like a pine needle and all those things. So this potential can go up to 100 million ton. So that is one area, work is in progress. Second thing is about the technology part of it, the digesters, the anaerobic digestion. So whatever the bacteria are being used and all those things, they give you a methane yield of somewhere around 50 to 60%. But now people are working on the technologies, on the temperature and the thermophilic reaction are also being tried. And based on that, expected yield could be somewhere around 70 to 80% on the methane. So that is another area, work is in progress. Third area is on the upgradation, the removal of the CO2 and CH4. These areas also, existing technology, some losses are claimed, are supposed to be there, that at least 3% to 4% of the methane is not recovered, that goes as a loss. So in that area also, people are trying new things, membranes are being tried, VPSA is being tried, and cryogenic separation is also being tried. So when we go for the cryogenic separation, what happens there? The CO2 is liquefied, CH4 is also liquefied. So you save on the compression cost and transportation cost. Means in the cryogenic conditions, you don't transport the methane in a high pressure tanks. So all those developments people are working and all. So what we have seen right from the 2018 onward, a lot of changes are coming here. And future is very, very bright for this. So 100 million ton is the target from this area. And not only in India, means same thing is happening in world over, in the Americas, then Europe, Africa, and all the other places also. People are trying, and this is the what is the real net zero fuel. So I hope another 5 years, by 2030, the picture will be very, very different. Where we are today. Today we are operating around 55 CBG plants, but by 2030 these numbers will be much more, much better. And a lot of interest is now coming from the big business houses. So that is also another positive for this area. So Vaibhavji, I will stop here and then thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. In fact, Satat has been a very pioneering scheme by the Ministry of Petroleum and the Government of India to push the entire CBG sector to a stage today where we are. I will bring in Mr. Maheshwari herein. And Mr. Maheshwari, we will like to understand the industry perspective, the challenges you guys are facing, and of course the reasons you guys feel to set up a greenfield plant into the CBG, opportunities and the challenge that as a private sector investor, what do you feel on your perspective? You can hold your mic a bit closer to your...
Thank you. In fact, Ramakrishna ji said a lot about the opportunities available and the technologies available. And so is Subodh Kumar ji said that Satat has been definitely a pioneer scheme. So with Satat, definitely we initiated the things, and that was a starting point of the CBG. But as a greenfield project, we are putting up a plant in Lucknow, and that is a small plant, not a big plant, but we are thinking to produce about 8 ton of CBG out of it. But putting that plant really gave us a lot of insight of the complete business scenario. So all the challenges what we can face, we have faced, and we are trying to overcome most of them. But the fact is, as a business model, the CBG has a lot of challenges, particularly starting from the feedstock, as already told by speakers, that feedstock is a challenge. Pure cow dung is not a feasible system. We cannot produce a commercial system out of pure CBG, pure cow dung. We have to have other feedstocks. What are the other feedstocks? Press mud or definitely Napier grass. Press mud again is not a long-term contract system. So most of the time the sugar industries do a short-term contract. So the bank asked for a long-term contract. And if we don't have a long-term contract, that becomes a challenge. Then what is the alternate? A Napier grass. Napier grass needs a lot of space, a lot of land, and definitely cultivation and developing it. But the fact is, it needs a lot of land. In states, we have a land ceiling acts. So you can't have more than 12.5 acres of a land of one farmer. So that becomes a challenge. So feedstocks, well, we have got a poultry refuse coming in. There's a very minuscule. So tying up a feedstock for CBG is definitely first challenge we have. Second challenge is definitely technologies. There are various technologies available, but successful proven technology for India are still in the evolving stage. We are also evolving a lot of technologies, but the fact is, what is going to be successful has yet to be decided. Third is definitely purification of the gas. Again, technologies are available, proven for Indian conditions, have yet to be settled up. Once that is done, I'm sure we are going to have multiple plants for using those technologies. And offtake definitely is going to be a challenge, because although we are going to have a CDG lines coming in, but if you don't have a assured offtake, we can't give a complete biogas to one dispensing station, because sometimes we have gas and sometimes we don't have gas. So they have to have a multiple fuel dispensing station where we have both CNG as well as CBG available, so that at least it becomes viable for anybody to come and use that. And definitely transporting is going to be a challenge, but definitely we are finding a solution to it. So there are challenges, but definitely there are possibilities which are coming in as an improvement in the area, and we are looking forward to the government supporting those areas, particularly organic manure disposal is going to be a challenge, which needs a support, although government is already coming up with the support, but still there has to be an assured offtake of the fertilizer. That is definitely, and a liquid FOM is also a challenge. Both these challenges, if addressed, I'm sure this industry is have a very, very bright future. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maheshwari. It's very heartening to see, in spite of various challenges, the private sector is very keen and looking at CBG as a very sunrising sector and want to take that lead and invest. I'll bring in Kevin here from Carbon Masters. Kevin has been producing CBG from last few years now at various places in India, and they have developed their own model of distribution and finding the solutions. And of course, Kevin will also bring in the foreign investment perspective to this. So, Kevin, what do you want to share with us with your experiences in last few years in CBG sector in India?
Thank you very much. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see by looking at me, you might describe me as a late-stage entrepreneur investor in an early-stage climate tech company. But we came to India in 2012. Our company's mission is to address the climate crisis. And we got into the biogas business in around 2013 when we actually took over a defunct biogas plant. And in 2015, we launched Carbon Lights Bio-CNG, which was a carbon-neutral fuel that we sold to restaurants and hotels to displace LPG for commercial cooking. Now, the reason we're in the biogas business is fundamental to what we are as a company. We believe that biogas and organic fertilizer present India and the world with the very best solution to reduce carbon emissions. In our case, we take the organic fraction of the municipal solid waste, which would end up in a landfill where it would release methane, which is a very toxic greenhouse gas. We, by biomethanation and purification of the resulting raw biogas, produce two climate-friendly products that we brand, market and sell under the Carbon Lights brand name. A gas which has the biomethane molecule, which is a very flexible molecule that could go for commercial cooking, for industrial heating, and under the SATAP program, as we're hearing, it can do transport. Plus, we take the digestate slurry and we convert that into a carbon-enriched organic fertilizer, which puts carbon back in the soil. So we're stopping methane from emitting from a landfill. We create two products, both of which reduce costs and reduce carbon. So we would believe, and of course we are biased, that this is the biggest and best opportunity, not only for India, but for the rest of the world, particularly the developing world, to address the climate crisis. Now, what's been remarkable in the last couple of years, since actually Mr. Modi made the big commitment that he did in Glasgow 2 years ago, to commit India to a net zero path, that has completely changed the dialogue in India, where big organizations, industries are asking themselves two questions. First of all, what does net zero mean? And secondly, how do I get there? And I would argue the best way of getting there is to look at the versatility of the biomethane molecule produced from a biogas plant to help you get down a net zero path. So despite the challenges, and they've been very well articulated by previous speakers, this is not an easy business to make successful, but it's still, we should remember, in its infancy. You know, there are probably today about 50 bio-CNG plants up and running in the country at the moment. We are going to need thousands and thousands of them to address the issues that we've got with both climate. But it just wasn't a climate benefit. It has many other benefits. It'll potentially solve the garbage issue, which affects every city and town in India. It'll create employment in both rural and semi-rural and urban areas. It provides a panoply of benefits. So it deserves to succeed. Now, from a foreign investment point of view, what's lacking at the moment is enough good examples of success. But again, we're in the infancy. I think these will come. We are now running all our 5 relatively small plants at a profit. It can be done. It's not easy, but it can be done. So if we can show that this is a profitable business, the banks will have more comfort to invest, which is necessary, and foreign investors will come. The other dimension that needs resolving is for the government to be clearer the rules it wants to use under the Clause 6 of the Paris Climate Agreement. Because there are foreign investors who will invest to build biogas plants in India if they had some understanding of what's going to happen to the carbon credit generated by that plant. And I've long had the theory that European and American multinationals, who, don't forget, have spent the last 10 years reducing their carbon, now they've got to get to net zero. They can't get net zero internally. They're going to have to do projects that reduce carbon. And if you want to build a biogas plant and you're a L'Oreal, do you build it in Paris or do you build it in Bangalore? I tell you, you build it in Bangalore because your costs are lower, but the same ton of carbon is what you'll get. So I think if we can sort the rules of the compliance market out, we will get lots more foreign investment to build the multitude of plants that India's going to need. Because there's another reason I'm here as a foreigner. If India does not achieve its low carbon path, the rest of the world, Britain, we can forget about 2 degrees. You know, we're only 2% of the global emissions. You're already going to be the largest emitter. If we don't get India down a low carbon path, my grandchildren are going to inherit a scorched earth. That's why I'm here. I think this is the biggest opportunity to address that issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Very well said. If the world has to travel the low carbon path, it is India which will have to start and lead the way. Absolutely. And CBG, initiatives like CBG can be a game changer in this. I want to bring in Dr. Tushar Patil here from Praj Industry, which is, of course, a global leader in biofuel technology sector per se. Are we ready, Dr. Patil, on the technological development to stabilize these projects commercially and with the kind of growth that we are looking at? What is your perspective from the technology standpoint?
Yeah, thanks, Vaibhavji. Basically, as a Praj, as a global leader, we work for different feedstock. But as a technology engineering company for the global applications, we very clearly divide one project into different technology sectors. It's not only for CBG, the digester is the heart. But we believe that it's an end-to-end innovations are required. Feedstock supply chain, there are certain innovations required. As the global demand is increasing, we have to increase the innovation into integration of the plant, scale of the plant, and finally the byproducts and products. So as an entire project, when somebody want to invest into CBG projects, we believe that we should do the innovations in every step, and integration is the another key. And third key is the scalability. So once you deliver the solution as a technology engineering company for any global projects, we have to see these three major factors. Following that, you have to know what is the feedstock mean. So you have to map the feedstock very carefully, what we are going to put it. It's a commercial aspect. It's not say that CSR projects are doing some biogas things, but for the commercial investment, we have to be very careful to know what is the characteristics of feedstock. As Kevin very rightly said, low energy footprints, low carbon footprints are going to be the key. So for any feedstock, what material you are using, what inoculum you are using, what process you are using. So as a Praj, we developed a very robust and clear systems. It has to be multi-feed to adjust all the inoculums and to give a best products for the industry. In entire sequence, what is missing in the technology prospect is the byproduct valorization, where FOM is the key of entire project rather than the purity of methane 96 or 98%. So to get the purity, we are having different packages, but to get FOM, see FOM norms has come, but it has to be looked into the angle of what farmers is required. If farmer required, which is going to be applicable into the field, then that we say as a technology has been proven for end to end. Now we can't say that yes, sludge has come and you put it into the field. No. Farmer is not going to buy that one. So we are working very closely with what farming community required because it is coming from the farms. So either it's grasses or it's straw or pressed mud or any raw material. It is going back one product into the farming community. So we are working on the fermented organic manure valorization. For example, rice straw. You are taking out the gas and putting rice straw final product as back into the field, which is digested one. But we have developed, say, if you can take out the lignin from the rice straw and produce a bitumen out of that and give pure form back to the farming community, that will be the valorization of the byproduct. Similarly, you can adjust the entire energy integration with low carbon footprints. So all those angles globally, if we see different raw material compositions from southern world or northern part, typically India is having all that mix. So we are now in a position to deliver most of the challenges what industry is facing in economic sense. So it should be scalable and economic viable. Then only all the technologies or all the projects are going to boom. This is what we are expecting from the technology development. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tushar. I want to bring in Mr. Ashish Gupta here, who is representing Gas Authority of India Limited. He is the Chief General Manager there. And the CBG CGD scheme, which has been a great enabler in synchronizing the producers and the evacuation of CBG, to give his perspective and also probably talk about how do he and the GAIL sees the biogas CBG sector to be placed in a long term, and how do they look at this entire sector? Mr. Gupta.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For CBG to find place in natural gas landscape, it is first of all I want to share few things about the natural gas industry and then how it is finding place that it automatically would flow. Today, as we know, gas is basically sharing 6.5% in the energy basket, and it is likely to go up to 15%. And the consumption today in India is around 185 million standard cubic meter per day, and half of is being met. The demand is being met from the domestic gas sources, and another half, 50%, is being met through RLNG. Now, one of the major segment which is coming up is CGD sector. Now, which in 2 decades back it used to be 2 to 5% level. It was sharing, the gas basket. Now it has come up to a share of 20% now. So CGD segment, basically the gas is primarily going to CNG, PNG for the domestic segment as well as industrial and commercial segment. Now, there is another dimension for growth of gas sector in India is that PNGRB has already authorized 308 GAs to various CGD entities across the country. And already out of 308, 258 CGD entities are already started taking gas and selling it in the form of CNG, PNG. And basically in the times to come, this is bound to grow. What we envisage that by 2030, what we anticipate that this consumption of 36 million standard cubic meter, which is going into CGD segment, is going to go up, is at least double from today. So a lot of basically consumption of biogas has to flow into CGD segment through CBG CGD synchronization scheme, which has been implemented by GAIL on behalf of Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Today, if I share with you the today's gas consumption in CNG and PNG sector, today we are basically consuming around 28 million standard cubic meter of gas in CNG and PNG. Out of that, the gas which is available from nominated field at the rate of $6.50 per MMBTU, which is the cheapest one in the country, which is flowing into CNG and PNG. There is still, today, the shortage is around 8 million standard cubic meter per day. Now, as of now, today the biogas which is available from various plants, around 25, which have come to our CBG CG synchronization scheme, they are supplying at a level of 65,000 SCMD. Just to meet the today's requirement of CNG and DPNG, we still need 1,000 times more biogas. As of today, I am telling you, as of today, we require 1,000 times more biogas to, basically support our CNG and PNG segment itself. Leaving apart the industrial and commercial segment. And down the line, as Dr. Ramakrishna mentioned, that the potential is up to 60 million tons per annum. If we go further, I mean, down the line up to, say, a longer horizon of time. So 60 million ton is equivalent to around 200 million standard cubic meter of gas. That much gas which we can replace in our, that we can replace, our RLNG, which is being imported from various countries in this country to meet the energy requirement. So that way we are will be creating an ecosystem of green energy in the country, as well as at the same time we will be doing, we will be basically saving a lot of foreign exchange on account of importing RLNG. So that is what I wanted to share about, how biogas is going to find a place in natural gas system. And definitely there is a good, very large marketplace available for biogas system to basically get absorbed in our energy basket. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gupta. In fact, this discussion is really hotting up, and probably it's a time that we could further, continue to discuss these things. But it seems, as most of the speakers have emphasized, the compressed biogas sector is proving to be a game changer in coming days. If the world has to achieve a net zero target, it has to look at options like CBG, and the ambitious target of net zero which Honorable Prime Minister has put forward in front of the country to achieve net zero by 2040, and then take this forward. Initiatives like CBG are going to be the game changer, and India with the variety of biomass and variety of experiments happening on CBG and biomass based fuel is going to be leading the entire path. Thank you, panelists. We are really short of time, so I'm afraid we all will like to hear and interact and continue this discussion, but we'll have to stop it here as our time is really running out. But let's continue these discussions informally post this session. And thank you, everybody, all of you. Thank you, audience, for being patiently, listening to this IFG India Energy Week CBG session. And of course, we have distributed some brochures on CBG and various initiatives by IFG for you to further deep in and sunk in and interact and understand. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, everybody.